Hello, folks. Welcome to It Matters Radio. Welcome back. It's been rather a long time, and here I am with our host Monica Brinkman, and I'm Ken Ween. And we had to take a rather long hiatus because, as many of you may already know, Monica was kind of burned out of her house by the campfire in California, that disastrous wildfire. And so it was kind of hard for us to do any shows. But now, Monica,
Had no studio, didn't we?
now you're back in a brand new home.
Yes.
Yeah. And now, the first thing we have to do, folks, is draw attention to the fact that the wall behind Monica is completely blank. And that's because she is in this new home.
Yes.
And so anybody who'd like to contribute a painting, she'll take Picasso's. But if you'd like to donate something interesting, please contact us. Let us know. Monica, I also see you're wearing your Beat Poet hat today.
Yes.
Why is that?
My hair is a disaster as usual, but
Yeah.
it's been crazy. You wouldn't think this, but I wasn't able to plug in a curling iron and get it close enough to me. So for like 15 months, my hair was just straight.
Uh-huh.
And now it likes that. It doesn't want to go back to when it would curl.
Uh-huh.
So you might see it change as time goes on now that I have electrical outlets. Yay!
Well, yeah. The other thing, of course, is none of us have very much access to a barber or hairdresser. So I don't know about you, but my hair is growing, my beard is growing. Of course, everybody thinks of me as a fuzzy bear anyway. So what the
Yes.
heck? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings up, I mean, you've gone from you've had a rough patch here. You had some losses beside the house, which is of course a horrible trauma.
Yeah.
Your best friend, who was also a friend of mine, and would you like to say a little bit about her death?
Yeah. I'm telling you, Carrie was a host, if any of you followed us back then. And she was also a friend of mine for almost my lifetime and a friend of Ken's.
Yes.
Anyway, we knew that she was getting operated on and, that she had cancer and such. But it was like she said, the last thing she said to me was, "I'll see you on Monday." She goes, "But you're going to have to do the show without me." And I'm like, "Oh, of course, anything." Well, Monday came, and that's when we found out she passed away during the surgery. Yeah. Very talented woman.
Lovely lady, Kerry Hall. We're going to all miss her.
Yes.
And I know
yes.
some of our regular guests. She became really close with some of our guests over the years. Both,
Yeah.
in the States and in Canada and of course across the pond in Britain. And she's just a lovely human being. We're going to miss her. And then we're going to miss our other, of course, host that we lost, Punky.
Oh, yes. Our diva radio cat. Right.
Yeah, and then you had some other losses among your animal.
All of her children are gone now.
Yeah. All Punky's babies are gone. Although I do want to mention that just the other day, Monica, you told me you found a new cat to join the family.
Yeah, he's beautiful. It's funny, Rich and I'll tell this real fast. Rich and I saw this cat at a shelter. They had his picture on the internet, and we both fell in love with him instantly. So I wrote them and told them that we wanted to adopt him, and they said come, the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But they said that he'd already been adopted, so we could choose from another cat. And we went there, and there was a cat, an orange cat, that they said, yeah, Vincent. So we're petting him and take him home. Well, they tell us he doesn't get along with other cats, and we have Charlie and a dog. So they go, I go, do you have any other cats that are friendly that are orange? And she said, we have an orange and white one named Henry that the people didn't show up today that were supposed to adopt him. And this was the cat that we had seen the picture of.
Oh, this was the one you wanted in the first place.
Well, yeah, oh my gosh, we wanted him in the first place. We fell in love with him, and he's been wonderful.
Okay.
You know. Of course, Charlie being a calico, she smacks him every once in a while.
She wants to make sure she's in charge.
Yes, yeah.
And then,
that's how they are, calicos.
And then in the midst of all of this other loss, of course, we want to mention a really major loss, and like the most major loss of a lot of major losses. Your brother passed away. Yeah.
And that was so unexpected. It was like he was telling me that they found something, and 2 weeks later he was gone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's so awful, and I know you didn't really get, I mean, you got to his bedside, but you didn't get to spend time with him. But in a way, it's such a blessing, because sometimes people die, and it's such a long, horrible process. And as you know, and one of our last guests before we had to take the hiatus was a friend of mine, John Abrams. And we were discussing basically people choosing to end their lives rather than suffer. The Final Exit Network. Talking about.
Some people, it's excruciating.
By the way, since then, John and I've been helping him and other people here in Southern Arizona. We have created our own organization called Choice and Dignity. And we will be continuing that work of helping people find options, whether it's hospice care or physician-assisted suicide, when and where that's available, and when it makes sense, or self-deliverance, as we prefer to call it. Because more and more, I think that's becoming actually a meaningful topic for our society. The coronavirus really is kind of underscoring it. And one of the things that both my wife Roz and I have long since determined is there is no way that we want to end up in a nursing home or care facility. In fact, it was funny because my brother, who was a physician, by the way, and I were talking the other day, and he was saying something about, at some point being in such a thing. And I said, no, Larry, I'm not doing that. I'm going to deliver myself before then. And even though I've talked to him about my options and choices before, he was like taken aback.
Especially his job that he does it.
Well, yeah, but a lot of physicians, now my own personal physician here, when I told him I was involved in this, he thanked me. He took my hand, shook it, and said, thank you. We need that. But now, what's going on with this virus, with this pandemic, is, one of the realities is that older, sicker people have just been dying, and it's excruciating death. And they're because I'm from Massachusetts, I'm from Maine and Massachusetts, as you know.
Right.
I read the papers from out east as well as the ones as others. And one of the things I've been following is the horrific death rates in New York in the nursing homes, in Massachusetts in the nursing homes. And I'm asking myself, why are we doing this as a society? Why are we warehousing people and letting them die in such anguishing ways? So I hear about your brother, and I feel terrible for your loss, and I know he leaves a wife, but I also, almost want to reach out across the rainbow bridge, as it were, to congratulate him for exiting so relatively easily, and without going through that horror.
Yes. And, you know, it's, it is, it is, John that he does it. You know, he
Um,
No, I was, I was glad about that. I mean, how could you not be? Because
yeah,
you don't want anyone you love to be in pain.
yeah,
You know. I mean, if there was a way out, go through the pain, and then you'd be okay. That's one thing. But when they're just, it's just going to get worse.
hmm
You don't want to see it suffer.
right, exactly, yeah.
So,
And one
but
of the things,
selfishly, I want them back.
of course. Well, I think that's one of the reasons that we all want to believe in an afterlife, because we want to believe that we will be reunited with the people we love. Um, and I can understand that belief. I don't share it. I don't. I do believe in an energy
That's what I
that
was just going to
continues.
say, Ken.
Yeah,
I said, if nothing else, there's an energy.
yeah,
If nothing else, and that energy then is it's a force,
right. Yeah, the
whatever you want to call it.
spirit, soul, force. Yeah, life energy.
Yeah.
Elan vital. Whatever you call it. Yeah, yeah. So hopefully, the people that we do love and care about, as you do your brother, that in that sense we will be reunited.
Mhm. Of course, there's so many times I wonder why I met this person, and then you look back and there was a reason for it. So
Yeah.
it's always good. So, what have you been up to?
Well, my life has not changed much during this virus, except that I don't get to. It's what I don't get to. I don't
Yes,
get to go to plays and concerts,
I know.
and I don't get to go out to restaurants. But Roz and I, we live in a small gated community, and so we can go out and take a walk. And our neighbors, we are respectful of social distancing,
Hmm.
so I don't have to glove and gown up to do that. And I do a little shopping, and we do eat. We get food in, and I'm very devoted wherever I have lived.
Yes.
Ever
Yeah.
since I was a little kid growing up in Maine and being so aware that my neighbors who owned that store, my neighbor was that barber, my neighbor was that doctor. Uh,
Yes. It's,
that
yeah.
I've always been a great believer in being part of and supporting the community. So one of the things I've been doing is we've been ordering out food once or twice a week and different
That's
restaurants
good.
as just yeah. And also, by the way, if anybody's listening and they're thinking about doing this and this horrible time is of social distancing, remember to tip when you do that. It's very easy to forget to tip. Well, those people working there, that person who's waiting on you to bring the food on, they're still getting tips, or need tips. They're not getting them. That's the point. And so I always tip.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you
yeah.
should too. And I'm trying to keep things in my community as
Mhm.
much as possible.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Anything that I have to do is, even I just went to a notary who lived here. We
Right.
met on her porch,
Right.
wore a mask and everything. And
Yeah.
so,
Try and keep it. And as part of that, I mean, it isn't that I won't eat at a chain restaurant. I prefer not. In general, I prefer local, but
yeah,
right now I'm particularly. I mean, I have a Denny's down the street. I have a Red Lobster down. I'm not going to those. I'm going to the. I mean, yes, they employ local people, but I'm going to the locally owned. The other thing I've been doing is I've been renewing memberships, or buying season tickets for next year.
yeah, people
Things
don't
like
think
that.
about that.
Yeah. And all of these organizations that have been contributing to my life, I want them to stay alive. So I'm going to renew my membership, say, in the Botanical Garden anyway. Why can't I renew it a few months early so they have that extra cash? Now, of course, I'm fortunate. I'm not living paycheck to paycheck. I have
Right.
that, and so for me to say, okay, I'm going to renew my membership. Here's an extra whatever.
Yeah, it's easy to say, but there's so many that right now they're just looking where they're going to get that next, check to just get food and gas and
Yeah.
the necessities.
Yeah, yeah. We're all, yeah, I think that's very much a concern. And that's the other thing. I've been trying to make sure that I am donating to the local food bank.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, the food banks are not in as
Anyone who might be listening,
I'm sorry?
they should be able to. Ken, I'm just saying that anyone who is listening, if they're able to, please, do the same things, donate if possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, and the homeless, oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah. Which brings up something else. One of the things that, the social injustice that we are seeing more, we're becoming more aware because of this, of the nature of the social inequity and social injustice in the society. And I don't know about you, but I saw the other day there was a situation, I think it was in Miami, I know it was in Florida, I think in Miami, where they have a physician who was carrying things out of his house to put into his van. I'm not sure if the van was there or if he was just carrying them out and piling them, but he is a physician who is very dedicated to helping the homeless community. And so he was bringing tents and things like that. And then he was going to bring them out and distribute them. And of course, he was properly, as we all should be when we're out these days. He was wearing a mask and he was wearing gloves. Well, a cop came up and harassed him, forced him to take the mask off, stood right next to him, forget the social, spitting at you, basically. So the doctor.
Oh my God.
And to me, it was assault. Well, one of the things that this has brought up is blacks in our country are dying more at a higher rate than whites from this. Inner city people.
Yes. I was shocked when I saw it.
Yeah. And then we have these things where if a black person goes to a store and is wearing that same mask that you and I are wearing, they're much more likely to be hassled. And, and there is something just terribly wrong.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I remember seeing like this one statistic. It said that 23% of this population got the virus, and out of that 23%, this is in one state, 56% of them were African Americans.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do, by the way, the reason that they're more likely to get it, and the reason that they're more vulnerable, a lot of it has to do with things like the historical structural racism that they're living. I mean, they're living in the parts of town where there is more pollution, where the pipes are more likely to be lead-ridden, where, all of these things that historically have been building up and building up. This is just underscoring them and reminding us.
Things we should have been working on, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. A crisis, in Chinese, as I understand, I don't write or speak Chinese, but historically, not in phonetic Chinese, but in the ideographic Chinese that they used to write, the symbol for crisis was made up of two symbols. One was dangerous, and the other was opportunity. And, this is, we're in a very dangerous time, but we also are in an opportunity. And we have to decide whether, as a country, as a culture, as a political entity, whether we're going to make, what use we're going to make of it. And I think that there are honest differences in belief. I think there are people who, for example, honestly believe that it is wrong for the government to tell us to stay home and to wear masks. And these people, we see them parading in Michigan, for example. Well, they're not just Michigan, but that was the big.
Hey, they were down in L.A.
Yeah, and you know what? I think they have a point. At what point does individual liberty and social consciousness come into conflict, and how do you resolve that conflict? And we all grew up knowing that you weren't supposed to yell fire in a crowded theater.
Mm-hmm.
But, do you have the right? Well, then let's assume for the moment that you do have the right. Let's assume for the moment you do have the right to go on spring break, even though, or to say, no, I'm not going to close my university, Liberty University. I'm going to, we don't believe in it. Okay, and then assuming you have that right, what is the responsibility that goes along with the right? That's the other question.
Yes, that's the issue. To me, first of all, this is not political at all. So people need to stop with that. What this is a virus that is worldwide.
Yeah.
This isn't a big joke. It's not some hoax. And it's time that people work together. Look at Italy. Look at China. China put their people back to work. They're getting sick again. Italy confined them to their homes. And it's getting better.
I think South Korea is a better example where they started right out by saying, hey, follow these rules. By the way, just as an aside, Monica, I don't know if you noticed this, but all the countries that have been most successful in dealing with it, where the infection rates have been the least and the death rates have been the least, they're all run by the head of state, and all of them is a woman.
Yeah.
But I don't agree
with you. But it
makes
sense. I mean, it's common sense, people. That's what they...
But I don't agree with you that it isn't political. I think it is political. I think...
Well, they're making it political, is what I'm saying.
There is a difference.
When the leader of your country is making it political...
Well, but there's a difference in philosophy.
The other side starts making it political. We've got to... Come on.
Well, bottom line is, there really is a political issue. And how much, how do we balance independent liberty and social responsibility? Okay.
Well, if these people want to all gather in one place, I'm sorry.
Oh, the ones who want to gather in one place, yeah?
Yeah, they have your little grocery stores, have your own little world. Go ahead, but it's not right when there is something that is deadly. If I have a chance of harming anybody, I'm going to protect them as much as possible and myself.
Let me ask you a question. You are...
And that's my right to do that.
Room. You're a physician in an emergency room.
Okay.
And during this virus. And two people come in. One of them, you say to them, where were you on such and such date? And this was, well, I was at home. I've been trying to stay home. I don't know where I picked up the virus, but, I have stayed home. I've worn a mask. And they say to the other one, well, where were you on? Oh, well, I was at the rally for freedom. Which of these two people, now they both are real. Which one do you treat?
Which one does the physician treat?
Yeah. And, then let's say one is more sick than the other. Okay. So, and you get into there's this balancing act. Okay. As somebody who trained in economics as an undergraduate, I always think about what's happening on the margin, on the edges of decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask myself, if I were that physician, which one would I treat? And then at what point, if the guy who was at the rally is more likely to be saved than the guy who tried, at what point do I say, well, even though I prefer to treat the guy who was careful, the other one, it makes
that's an almost impossible position to be in. And I think they just react. Mm-hmm. What can they do at that point but just
Oh no, I
make
think
that decision.
I'd love to get a one of an emergency room doc on to talk about that. I just wouldn't ask them
Yeah.
to do it now because I think that they are just too busy and too worn out to ask
Oh
them.
yeah.
But maybe after some of this is quieted down, we could find one. I know what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to have Dr. Oz or Dr. Phil, somebody who doesn't have. I mean, I don't understand. See, that's something I don't understand either. I mean, you know, why, what is it with people that they think that they should be trying to tell the world what the world should be thinking about something
Yeah.
when without asking questions, without, just enacting like this on authority when they don't have any basis for that authority. I have questions, but I don't have simple answers. I don't think any of us do. Um,
No, there aren't any.
yeah.
But
Well, yeah.
I just want these people to think, what if, okay? What if you're wrong? What if you're just being in this crowd caused you to catch the virus? What if it didn't show up for 10, 14 days and you infected your child, your grandchild, your niece, your nephew, your mother, your father? What if?
Yeah. Well, I think maybe you posted it on Facebook. By the way, folks, you can find both Monica and myself on Facebook. You and All Things That Matter Radio on Facebook.
Yes.
And I think you would raise something about what was it like? One out of every 8 people was going to who get it. We're going to, and I forget, but it came down to ending up asking people to name the 8 people from among their friends and family and acquaintances that they would accept their death.
Yes.
Who's okay with you to have them die? It's like the ads. If 1 in 3 people is pre-diabetic, it could be you, it could be your barber, it could be your dog walker. I mean, you have to think about it at that personal level. And of course, that's something that we never used to do in our society until actually the AIDS epidemic. I think when AIDS came, one of the things, talking about a dangerous opportunity, when AIDS came into the world and we were seeing people, and then we started to realize that it wasn't these strange people living in Haight-Ashbury or someplace, Greenwich Village, but it was people we knew, family, friends, people we knew in our lives and all of a sudden, because, of that, yes, we also learned they were gay. Maybe we didn't know that. But all of a sudden we came to realize that this is something, both the homosexuality and that it's personal. It's always personal.
Yeah.
The difference, I think, one of the big differences in worldview that you and I share from perhaps some of the people that we talk about is that I don't ask myself, do I know this person? I assume I know the person. We are all brothers. We are all sisters. We are all living in this one world. And I don't divide us up, and I don't think you do either.
No, I don't. And it's, Ken, it's hard for me to, I'm not trying to be right, if you know what I mean, but it's hard for me to not understand how everybody can't feel that way. I mean, if you saw somebody suffering on the street, would you just walk by them?
Well, I think that's a very interesting
What if there's a baby on the street?
Yeah. It's a very interesting
How many
question.
people would walk by?
And well, of course, now we're getting into religion and the wonderful parable, one of my favorite parables of the New Testament, the Good Samaritan. And let us all, in this time of crisis, be trying to be good Samaritans to those who we pass by in this ship of life.
Yes.
And that's a great way for us to end. for this segment of It
I
Matters
think
Radio.
so too.
Thank you so much for joining us, folks.